Hi, hello. Welcome to this session. This afternoon, I will present the relationship of green economy in the world with the current state of natural environment. So, environmental, the Earth system has a hierarchical structure. There's air, water, earth, nature, in which energy and material movement with time were involved. For example, sun and greenhouse effect, especially with the increase in population after the Industrial Revolution. Some other important social or green economical aspects or relationships are given below, like material cycle, carbon, historical first population over COP, global warming, carbon dioxide emissions, international exchange, disappearances, countermeasures, employment creations, ecological projects. So, besides fresh water and water stress, an important question about water is it usable water? Which is based on its existence, sea, river, underground, and its circulation may be important. For agricultural purposes, virtual water or the amount of water required to produce a product and its amount of trade should be considered. For other purposes like engineering, ultra pure water, power generation, which we take consider about the amount and temperature if it is required, water supply, which we take a look into purification, seawater desalination, or green chemistry, chemical contamination, solvent organic to water may be important. For soil, agriculture and population are the main issues. Clark count is the percentage of implements present near Earth's surface and in mass percentage in the crust. Elements found in rocks are, of course, oxygen 46.6%, silicon 27.7%, aluminum 8.1%, iron 5%, and calcium 3.6%. So the biological interaction of the ecosystem nowadays are mainly because of symbiosis. Biological pyramid becomes small enough to go downward. Photosynthesis is specifically a part of material circulation of living things against artificial influence such as agriculture. So, Earth is one of the planets in the solar system that is third closest to Sun. The prominent feature of the planet is that it has large amount of oxygen dissolved in the water and air present on the planet. This has facilitated survival of many living organisms, including human beings, and resulted in a huge biodiversity of the planet. The interior of Earth roughly consists of three layers: the crust, the mantle, and the core. The average density of the entire Earth is 1 cubic centimeter per 5.514 grams. Its surface is covered with air. From an analysis of rocks brought from Moon in space flight Apollo 11 and of the ages of meteorites using radioactive elements, it was estimated that about 4.6 billion years have passed since Earth was born. So Earth's environment consists of air, water, soil, and its biodiversity, collectively referred to as nature. These are the major circulations routes on Earth. However, it has been seen out that initially elements such as carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus also flowed in the natural environment. But when the process of photosynthesis of plants by plants began, they became part of the main circulation by entering it via the animal path. Recently, it has also been pointed that along with elements, a variety of materials also flow. The regulation of biogeochemical cycles by the human society and human activities are the major circulation routes that are centered near cities. A result of this is the environmental problems that cities face, which requires immediate attention. The focus should be on economic infrastructure, environmental protection, and sustainable recycling-oriented society. One should aim to deal with the challenges of both economic development and environmental conservation simultaneously by resolving environmental issues in a committed way by investing and promoting employment in environment-related areas such as renewable energy, the renewable energy research, and those involving rebuilding of natural environment, waste reduction, and environmental protection, and making this the core areas of an economy. Global warming is actually a phenomenon that increases the average temperature of Earth as a whole. And this has a negative impact on the ecosystem. Global warming is a result of the use of large amount of fossil fuels due to industrial revolution. Its main cause are greenhouse gases such as methane and carbon dioxide that are found or that are formed artificially during the use of fossil fuels. Hadley circulation, it is air circulation in the troposphere in the tropical and subtropical south direction. The air descends in the subtropical high pressure belts on the polar side of the equatorial intertropical converging zone. In the air, it's warmed by the tropical air and is carried near the subtropical area. Because of the Coriolis force, air masses converge in the intertropical converging zone in the lower atmosphere, resulting in winds in the northern hemisphere and the southeast trade winds and northeast trade winds in the southern hemisphere, thus creating a balance in the ground and the upper atmosphere. By this circulation, the equatorial heat is efficiently carried out to the mid-latitude. At a high latitude boundary that is approximately at 30 degrees north and south, a downdraft develops a high pressure zone, and one can see that more deserts exist on such lands. The subtropical jet stream west wind that blows over become the westerly winds that circulates on a higher latitude than the west wind. The temperate, rainy summer climate is the annual distribution of rainfall which gives rise to distinct seasons. Warm and humid temperature climate and temperate winter dry climate, also referred to as warmer winter suffrage. Although the annual rainfall ranges between 1,000 to 2,000 millimeter, but from summer till autumn end, tropical storms, typhoon in Southeast Asia, in our country, and in cyclone in India, bring lot of rain. A tropical storm is accompanied by strong winds, summer monsoon from oceans, seasonal winds, and strong winds in general. Rising sea levels, melting of ice, and thermal expansion of seawater are phenomena stemming from global warming. When the average sea level rises, it points to a rise in fluctuation of water level, resulting in surging storms and swelling waves like a tsunami. Since 19th century, impact of global warming resulted in rising sea level. The thermal expansion of water, it is the coefficient of volume expansion of water, varies with temperature. Density of water increases from 0 degrees Celsius till 4 degrees Celsius and then start decreasing. That is, the volume of water starts increasing after 4 degrees Celsius. The evaporation rate of water from sea leads to changes in the volume of seawater, which is indirectly associated with precipitation. The melting of Antarctic and Greenland ice sheets and of glaciers and mountain ice caps. Ice sheets, glaciers, and ice caps exist without relying on the buoyancy of the water and contribute to the increase in the volume of seawater, mostly by melting. So when glaciers melt, they gush into the sea and get carved as tips of icebergs. After melting, the glacial volume slightly increases the volume of seawater. In Earth physics, morovisic discontinuity refers to a layer between the Earth's crust and the mantle. From a geochemical perspective, it is the depth of land from the outermost surface of the planet. The Earth's continental crust is made of acidic rocks such as granite and andesite, and the upper part of its mantle is made up of ultramafic rocks such as peridotite. The ocean crust is made of somewhat neutral and mafic rocks such as basalt. Thickness of the continental crust varies with areas and can be as thick as 30 to 40 kilometers deep in certain regions. The oceanic crust is nearly uniform and is roughly 6 kilometers thick. Although rare, but the Earth's mantle gets exposed in some places under the ocean or seabed where there is no oceanic crust. compared to the Earth's crust that forms the surface layer of the lithosphere. The mantle is less rigid. The Earth's crust is made of soil and withered rock, including generated coarse particulate, inorganic material, primary minerals. Inorganic materials, it could be clay or secondary minerals, colloidal and coarse organic matter such as dead organisms that has been formed by decomposers like bacteria, and organic matter, humus. The solid content of the soil is packed in the form of a coarse soil and has many gaps. Soil gaps are filled with soil air and soil solution. Water-soluble bases, organic substances dissolved in the water, and water in the main components of the soil solution. Soil, when defined by the size of the particles, includes only those particles whose grain size is less than 2 mm. And when defined by its composition, does not include gravel or coarse organic matter as they are more than 2 mm in size. The natural resources, particularly the underground mineral resources that are especially useful for human beings. These underground mineral materials have a lot of fossil fuels and metals such as iron, gold, and other rare metals, and rare elements such as uranium and other nuclear fuels. To extract them from the ground requires different facilities. To extract solid materials, if hole is dug, the facility is called a mine. To extract liquid or gas through a pipe, water is baled. The baling facility is called gas or oil field. These resources are exhaustible and will someday disappear. But before that, research is being done to recycle or regenerate so that there can be limitless resource usage in the future. It is important to note that these resources, especially fossil fuels, are geographically distributed in a biased manner, which has made those areas politically unstable with many difficulties. It is important also to estimate the water needed by a country to produce imported food. For example, to produce 1 kilogram of corn, 1,800 liters of water is needed for irrigation. About 20,000 times more water is required to grow crops and intensive cattle rearing to produce 1 kilogram of beef. Biosphere refers to the space that holds life in general, including the interaction between the components, whether biological or non-biological. It more than often refers to the organisms contained in it, referring in the broader sense to the biota, biomass, and organisms. When it comes to ecosystem, of course, the Earth is made up of atmosphere, lithosphere, and hydrosphere. The lithosphere makes the surface and subsurface. but it also spread into the Earth atmosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere. Overall, all these areas overlap and can be defined as the total ecosystem. In an ecological environment, interaction between the biological and non-biological systems takes place, which spread in all areas of the global environment and the biosphere. In biology, abiotic activities such as the water cycle, atmospheric and seawater convection, and circulation of materials and energy take place due to biological activities such as photosynthesis, food chain interaction, and biological degradation. To conclude, our natural environment makes human life possible, and our cultural environment helps define who we are. It is therefore essential that our population and economic growth are environmentally sustainable. The most positive outlook for our environment is one in which we get the right balance between continuing to support and implement effective policies, programs, and resources related to environmental care. Further developing, testing, and as appropriate, implementing innovative approaches and initiatives that are currently being developed. Developing and implementing new policies, processes, programs, and tools in the medium to longer term, including the further integration of policies and management approaches across jurisdiction and sectors. For instance, green and blue economy approaches, development of a sophisticated impact investment market, regulatory reform, to provide for rapid response to new incursion of potentially harmful invasive species and diseases. So with that, thank you and Godspeed.